anybody who has the first question, go ahead and raise your hand and we'll start troubleshooting. All right, E-King, go ahead.
Hello.
Hey, how you doing?
Yeah, fine, thank you. My question is, I didn't finish the last two challenges, the 8, 9, and 10, because I didn't have enough time. But where I miss is a place to where I can see all the things that I can do, for instance, with an array, what functions can I use with an array, how it can be used, an array, the various formats, and the structures, the for, the while, etc.
Did you look at the guide document that was paired with the day one challenge? So there's the day one challenges, but there's also the guide document, right?
Yes, I see. I watched, and where is this? Internet computer in smartcontracts.org.base libraries, and here you can find, for instance, Motoko base library array, and here it is array equal, array append, array sort, but it does not explain. It's just very short explanation. Short. It's only for someone who already knows, and if you don't know, you continue don't knowing.
Yeah, I totally got what you mean. The documentation is
some more explanation and some examples.
Yeah, for sure. But actually, I don't have like a best solution right now. Like the documentation is the documentation, and I mean, you can probably improve the documentation if you want to. It's open source, so if you want to add examples, I know some functions have examples, so maybe you can try to do it.
Yeah,
when you understand everything. So right now, yeah, the documentation is quite advanced. I mean, it's not advanced, but it's just that it's written in a very generic way. So you need to understand what everything means. I think you will get more understanding with the guide number 3. I explain like what is a generic type. You have like the capital A, capital B. Those things are quite advanced to grasp, but once you got it, it will feel really natural to just read the documentation. Right now, I would just suggest to basically try to look again at the videos. Yesterday during the Dev Mentor session, I've demonstrated some functions on array, so you can take a look at that. Yeah, and basically go through all the code. Try to put all the pieces together, but I'm sorry, right now there is no like place to go.
The challenges until now, the challenges were not difficult at all. The only difficulty is knowing the special language, the syntax, the details, because in terms of logic, the flow, etc., they are very simple. but you must use some function that you don't know. You must yeah, the difficulty is, and there's no documentation.
Yeah, so like I understand a little bit what you're saying. Like one of the things I ran into was in the terminal, how to test a function that took an array as an input because I didn't know the candidate syntax. And what I personally ended up having to do is go to Motoko Playground, pasted my function in, and then I saw Motoko Playground, like I had vec and then the handlebars and that weird syntax. And I realized that can work in the terminal, but like that took a little bit of prior instinct. So I was thinking it'd be hard for a beginner to figure that stuff out.
So
Isaac,
I have
Isaac,
two
sorry,
tips for you. Yeah, sorry. Go ahead, Sam.
just one thing for Isaac. You can look at, I've shared the link in the chat. You have like the candid guide, and in the candid types, you have all the types that exist in the candid format. And so you have like the corresponding Motoko type, and you have the syntax if you want to use it with the FX, you know, like the vec and everything. Everything is explained there, so you can find it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I have one tip for you, which is if you're also looking to learn, let's say, front end on the side as well. So you will probably have to learn another programming language. So if you're looking at something like learning JavaScript, then having learned JavaScript, having to learn Motoko becomes much easier. So, and then with JavaScript, you have so many examples and so much resources and help online that becomes much easier. So that is something you can probably look at after the bootcamp is over, and then if you need further help, that is something you can look at. The other thing I would try to do is, again, no matter what concept you're stuck at, try to break it down into the simplest possible contrived example you can think of. Let's say you're trying to do like a sorting. I know there's a sorting exercise in the daily challenges, like both the daily challenges have a sorting exercise. So in that particular thing, you have to deal with a bunch of things. You have to deal with an array. You have to maintain multiple counters. You have to do looping. You have to do if else and all that comparisons. So if you're stuck with one particular thing, I would suggest just take that particular thing out into a separate example and experiment with that. And once you totally understand the mechanics of that, then again take that back into your main code and try to integrate.
Yes, that example of sorting an array, it's in logic. It's it's easy. It's not complex, and the video it's clear. I understand perfectly. But when you are going to implement, if you don't know nothing, you don't know how to, for instance, know the size of the array. You don't know how to refer or some position at the index of the array, and how to store it.
All the things you've just told. So the size, the index, it's in the daily guide. It's explained like how to get the size of an array, how to access any index. There is probably some pieces missing, like how to, for example, how to swap two values in an array. That's probably missing. But yeah, the goal of the challenge 10 was just for you to basically, if you have finished all the challenges, just try to do this one. I don't have all the steps described in the guide. All the pieces are available on the Definity website, but you need to search a bit array, like what is a mutable, immutable array, array freeze, things like that. Yeah, but most of the things you've told are in the daily guide.
And a lot of the video recordings, there's that kind of stuff sprinkled throughout the Q&As and stuff prior. And you know what, Seb, we have Rina Kesh here on the Q&A saying that since the deadline's been reached for day 1 challenges, could we show how to solve challenge 9 and 10? I think that might help some people out. And have we actually published the solutions yet? I know we were going to publish the solution now that deadline's hit, but maybe if you could drop the solution on your screen and just show what the solution is and talk through it.
Yeah, sure. I can try. Yeah, we can do it. I just wanted to maybe answer other questions before that. Just like easy question. I don't know. Some people are.
Yeah. Okay.
Hey, so I just have a small problem submitting my my challenges with GitHub and Visual Studio Code. So I don't know. I think it's very simple, but I could not figure it out before now.
Do you have watched the video? Have you watched the video that I've published on the?
Yes. I followed everything, and the step that's problematic is when you said git push and you origin master. I tried to do only git push. Then one of your colleagues, I don't know his name, he said on.
I've seen that. Right. So
and,
maybe.
Yeah. So he said to have the command git remote show origin, and then yeah, he hasn't answered. So.
Okay. So I don't know exactly, but I think you are not. So you have different branch. You're probably not on master. Maybe you're on main or something like that. And I don't know if you have the message. Basically, if you have the message that you don't have any origin, remote origin. So the remote origin is basically the link to the repo on GitHub. You need to link like the actual code on your computer with the repo, the remote repository. That's how you would do it. I would also recommend to basically take maybe 30-40 minutes and just watch a video on Git. What is Git? What is GitHub? Like the commands and everything.
Okay, I'll do that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not specifically like IC related, but it's something really important if you want to like basically work as a developer. You need to master that.
Okay, thank you.
I don't know your specific error though. I haven't read the topic enough. Maybe Psycat Psycat does. You know? I don't know.
So I think I was already helping him on the discussions, but since we started the call, I will do it after. You're Inwani on the GitHub discussions, right?
Yes, exactly. Eli or Inwani, yes.
Yeah. I'll help you out in the discussions. If you want, we can maybe quickly share your screen and we can just get you unstuck. If that is something we can do.
Sorry, what did you say?
If you share your screen, we could quickly help you get unstuck. It might be a very simple thing. So basically, I think what you are having is a mismatch between the GitHub remote name and the local branch name.
Yeah, so I can do that, but I understand that it's not IC related. So if you want, I can do it, but it just I can figure it out, or we can as you want.
Seb, do we want to give him screen sharing access?
I mean, if it's like 5 minutes, I guess it's okay. I will prepare the following questions. I don't have the Isaac. Maybe you can allow him to share his screen.
Yeah. Wait, wrong person. 1 second.
Okay, I can.
Okay, no, yeah, there we go.
So the easiest way to deal with Git and not have to immediately learn Git commands is to use VS Code's inbuilt mechanism of handling Git, right? So the first thing to understand right now is you have made some changes to your code and some files are updated, but they are not added to Git, right? So if you just type git push, it cannot run those commands before your local state is saved in a git commit. So the first thing to notice on the very left hand side, it says 24 files have some kind of change. Can you click on that 24 on the left hand side? And yes, the point of this exercise is just to show everybody that you can also deal with Git without having to do it on the command line, right? Okay, so the first thing that we see on the left is you have some staged changes and you have some normal changes which have not yet been tracked by Git. So the first thing that you can do is if you hover over changes, a plus button will come up. Can you hover over changes? Not over there. No. It says changes 11, right? In the list, not over here, in the list itself. Slightly lower, you see changes 11. There's a plus button that came up. Can you click on the plus button? So what it did is it staged all your changes right now. So currently, the way Git works is you have some changes that you make to your code. Git, unless you say that you want to stage those changes, Git will not track those changes. So what you did was you staged those changes. Now we need to give it a message. Let's give it a message. There's a section called message, right? Type out a Git message. Basically, whatever you want to show up on GitHub when this commit gets pushed up. So ideally, you can type something like day 1 changes. Okay. Now, if you see that up above, you see that arrow, right? Can you hover over that? It says commit. So basically, no, on the tick mark. Yeah, it says commit. So now if you click on that, this will basically commit it to your local branch. So basically what you did was your local branch. First step was you added all those files to yours for them to be tracked. Second, you gave it a commit message and now you're created a new commit on your local branch. So the next thing that you need to do is, this is still on your local computer, right? Next thing that you need to do is push this up to GitHub. So for that, on the lower left corner, you'll notice that there's something that says master. Can you click on that? At the bottom, there's a master, right? At the bottom. No. Yeah, click on that. So this will list all the branches that are currently there locally as well as on your remote. So currently only you have only just a remote, you only have a local branch, which is master. So for you to push this up, you can either click the publish branch on the left, or you notice there's a cloud up arrow icon at the bottom. You can do either of those. If you push that button, it says extension GitHub wants to sign in. Now the thing is, GitHub can have multiple authentication mechanisms. So how do you know who is going to do this push? Who is going to push this commit? So for GitHub to know that, you have to sign into GitHub. So there are two ways. Either you use something called SSH or you use the normal HTTPS. So if you click on allow, basically Visual Studio will log in on your behalf and then it will have permission to. Okay. So basically you just need to authenticate. Once your authentication goes through, you should be able to publish to GitHub. Is this flow clear? And yeah, so what right now you're looking at is basically all the commands that Git ran on your behalf. So Visual Studio Code is behind the scenes running these terminal commands for you. Right? So you just need to figure out why this authentication is not working. Once you're able to log into GitHub, essentially you should be able to push your code.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much.
Right. And once you're comfortable with this, I would suggest learning the terminal commands to do all these things. So that you don't have to just rely on Visual Studio. Seb, I think we can go with the next question.
That was really useful. Thanks for that.
Right. Yeah, the questions are in Q&A or in the chat everywhere. It's everywhere. Yeah, so someone, I don't really understand, someone is saying that the canister needs to be the canister is stuck in a while loop. I'm not sure what that means. Like, really strange. Yeah.
You should still be able to update it, right, and get it out of the while loop.
It's not possible, I think, to stack a canister like that because there is a limit on the each message. There is a cycle limit. So, like, if you do something that would stack a while loop, that would it would automatically stop. So yeah, I'm curious to hear the person. I think he raised his hand.
Go ahead, R.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so actually I tried a while loop. So the canister was just like printing like from like my variable like x, like is always 1 1 1 1 1. So I was just doing a print, a debug.print. So the canister cannot finish the while loop.
Can you show us?
It's not the same screen, sorry. It's not on the same computer, so.
Oh yeah, but right now I don't see exactly. Yeah.
I was just doing like a while loop, so like a debug.print. I was printing my variable like x or I. So because I don't change, I was doing like until x is not equal 0, for example. I was printing this x, but I never changed the x. So the canister was always printing like 1 1 1 1 1 1. So if I try to stop the canister, nothing. I cannot do dfx canister stop. And if I kill the dfx, like a dfx stop, or even kill with a Linux command, if I restart the dfx, I still have the loop, the canister in the loop.
You can just stop your dfx and start new. So there's this command called dfx start -- clean. So if you do that, basically dfx will start with again an empty replica instead of any canister deploy.
Okay, so I need the flag clean. Okay, okay.
The other option always is to just nuke your dfx folder. So for every project that you run, whenever you start dfx, you'll notice that a .dfx folder automatically gets generated in your file explorer tree view, right? So you can just rf, that will essentially remove it completely from your system. So you can stop your dfx replica, remove all those dfx files which contain basically the working directory for your replica of your project, and then again start it. So dfx clean.
It's what I was doing.
Yeah, dfx clean will essentially do the same thing under the covers.
But if I am in the on internet computer network, how can it work? Because this one I just removed the .dfx folder. It's what I did. But if I'm on the internet computer network, so I cannot remove this folder, right?
I don't think you can do it.
So you just need to update your canister. So a canister has multiple modes that you can install in it. There is an upgrade mode, there is a reinstall mode. You can use one of those to basically remove that offending code and then re-upload your canister basically.
Yeah, but that's correct. But I don't get it because I'm sure that I think it's not possible to basically do that because it would. I mean,
you can try if you want. You just do a loop while, and you just print. You just print x, and you don't change the value of x, so it will just.
I understand for sure. But
I think both mentors have never run into this, but yeah, even I will try it once. I think what will happen is the cycles will get exhausted.
Yeah, me too. I think.
Yeah, because I changed the name. I changed the name of my variable, and I missed it.
All right, I will try that.
But if it's on my local, it's okay. But if it's on the internet computer, I will burn just all my cycles, right?
Yeah, that's what I think. Like there is a cycle limit, so you would just burn all your cycles and it would stop automatically. Or maybe you would just crash the internet computer. I don't know.
But as a general guidance, again, this is for all the attendees as a general guidance, when you're writing any sort of loop, always ensure that you have an exit condition first. So essentially, if you're writing a while loop, ensure inside your while loop, you have some sort of condition that will always exit first.
Yeah,
Again,
sure.
this is good general programming practice, but yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Is there another question?
Yeah, there's a few other questions. There's some on the Q&A. If y'all want to try to pick one out of there. Oh yeah, Seb's gonna be back in 2 minutes. So let's see. Somebody's getting errors at Demola Johnson on challenge number 5. Do we want to try to have them share their screen and solve that?
Sure. So this is day 1 or day 2?
Well, raise your hand. Well, here, let me allow them to talk. Demola Johnson, you can go ahead and talk and tell us more about your issue. You're on mute. You there?
They might have stepped away from the system. Maybe we
Okay.
can try somebody else and come back.
Wait,
Please, can you hear me?
I'm back.
Okay, I think he's there. Yeah, go ahead, please.
Yeah, so actually the problem is that I've tried DFS that's clean and everything I saw on GitHub, but I keep getting the same error. And it's telling me notes run with Rust backtrace equals to 1 environment variable to display backtrace, and also it's giving me an OS error.
Right, so you're probably using, so in the fx.json, you have the version that is specified, the version of the fx. If you check,
Yes,
there is probably a
the
mismatch.
version.
There is probably a mismatch between. Yeah,
I think what I can do is I can share my screen and show how to start a project from the very beginnings without anything else required. I think that will probably answer a lot of these questions for a lot of people who are running into the same kind of issues. I'll just quickly share my screen and show you.
Yeah, if you want to do it, sure.
So let me know if you're able to see my screen.
Oh, yes, I can.
Perfect. So the first thing to note is when you're starting out with a project, you need 2 things. You need DFX to be installed. So first thing that I want everybody to check is they have a DFX version installed. If this is not there, then you cannot proceed. Absolutely cannot proceed. The other thing that you need, if you're doing a front end, you also need Node to be present. Again, if you don't have Node, you will not be able to do front end, right? So if you are stuck over here itself, ensure that you have these 2 tools. Okay. So once you have this, the next thing to do is we are going to start a Motoko project from the very bare bones. We are not going to use any any pre-created project using DFX new or anything, right? So the first thing that I want to do is I want to create a new directory. I'll just create a new directory and open it in code. Again, if this is not clear, tell me. So what I'm just doing is I've created a new project. If I list the projects over here, I see that there's a test project. So if I do code test project, it will open it in a VS Code instance for me, right? I have nothing inside this. This is absolutely empty, right? So now if I want to do Motoko development, I need this extension inside VS Code. Motoko by the Definity Foundation, right? If you don't have this, your code will not be color highlighted. It will work and you will be able to write code, but it will not have any highlighting. Again, stop me and ask me a question if you don't understand. The next thing to do is, if you want to do Motoko development, you need a DFX JSON file. So the first thing that we need to create over here is a DFX JSON file. You don't need anything inside it apart from specifying your canisters. So this is a JSON file. So JSON looks like this. Essentially, it's a key value pair that we have to define. So we have to say canisters. And over here, I need to give my canister a name. Let's call it a backend canister. And there are two properties over here. The first one is type. It will say Motoko. The second thing over here is, I'll just refer that one. Give me a second. So, the second thing is main. So basically, I need to define a main over there. And this I'll say src./main.mo. I'll create that file, but the point is, this is all you need. At this stage, if I just create a main.motoko file and just have an actor, which does nothing, just a plain actor, right? And if I do DFX start, my project will work. So ensure that you're inside this project with the DFX JSON file before you run your DFX start. If I hit enter, I notice that my DFX has started, right? My replica is running. And what I'll do is I'll create a second.
Sorry, please, can I quickly ask a question?
Sure, go ahead. If anybody has any questions, interrupt me now and ask me. I'll clarify them.
Are you actually trying to tell me that I need to like open the DFS JSON file before I run the DFS start?
Can you come again? I couldn't hear your question.
Yeah, as in what you just said now is like I need to like open the JSON file before I run DFS start. Or that's not necessary.
Okay, I'll explain again. So what I meant is that folder, my working folder, right? Test project is where I'm creating my Motoko source code, where I will be writing all my Motoko code. So in this folder, if I want to run DFX start, if I want to start my replica over here, I need to have a DFX JSON file. And the DFX JSON file needs a minimum of this much code to specify this is my canister that I want to be writing code for in this project. I don't need anything else. Everything else, it can pick up the defaults. So this is the bare minimum that you need to start writing Motoko code inside your code editor. Right now I can start writing more things. In fact, without this also, without any public methods also, I can do a DFX deploy. So since my replica is running over here, DFX deploy will create this backend canister, right? It is creating this backend canister because I have specified it in my DFX JSON. So it got the name of the canister, it compiled this Motoko file, and it deployed a canister with this ID on my local replica. Is this clear?
Yeah. Yes, okay. But I have the DFS JSON file, but I don't know why I keep getting the error.
So that is what I'm suggesting. Ideally, if any of you are facing these errors, follow the steps that I outlined. You need to ensure that you have DFX installed on your system. If you run DFX version, it should show you that version. The next thing that you do is you create a folder with only two files, a main.motoko file and a dfx.json file. In your dfx.json file, you specify your canisters and you only write actor inside main. And then you try to start your replica and you can even try to deploy the canister. If all of this works, then you're ready to write any Motoko code. If you are getting errors in any of these steps, then stop and rewatch this video. So inside this actor, now you can do all of your exercises. You can do anything that you want. The other frequent question that I also see people asking is, how do I pass an array to DFX, and how do I pass this other complicated record type? So ideally, what I prefer to do is, instead of writing it out over here like this, so there are two ways you can essentially call these methods. I'll give you an example. Let's write a function over here, public func add array numbers, right? And what I'm taking in is a array of natural numbers, and I'm returning a natural number as the sum. So actually, you know what? I'll not add, I'll return the first element, because I don't want to get into the complexities of all that code. I'll just return the first element. So return array first. What I can just say is return n. So this is a function that I wrote, which takes in a array of natural numbers and returns the first element. Right. So there are two ways I could ideally call this canister method. The first way is using bfx canister call. Backend is my canister name, so call backend, and my method name is return array first. And then I have to write this complicated argument. So a lot of people are having trouble with this, like something to do with wake and all that. So I will probably make a mistake. So if I hit enter, it says that your argument is invalid, right? Because this is not what I need to pass over here. So what I usually tend to do is, the easy way to do this is, you see this line which says the UI canister on the local network is this. This is basically something called candid UI. So if I copy this and go back to my browser, and just open this, it will open this UI. You will probably have seen this UI in some screenshots or places. So what this is it's called candid UI, and basically what you can use this to do is call your methods from the browser itself, instead of having to write it in the terminal over here. So here I know that my backend canister's ID is this, right? I can see backend canister created with this ID. What I can do is I can go to my browser and provide that as the canister ID. And when I hit go, it brings this up. So now I don't have to struggle with remembering, okay, how do I pass an array? How do I pass a record and all that? I can simply enter it over here. So it says my return array first expects a type of vec nat and returns a nat. So I can say I have a array with 3 members. Let's say 1, 2, and 3. Now if I call it, I will have the output over here also, and I can see that this is how you actually pass it. And this is what was returned. Again, stop me and ask me questions if anybody has any questions over it. And essentially, you can basically use the same workflow to get all your exercises done. Like for every exercise that you have to do, you basically go over here. You can create another function. Let's say, let's look at an exercise. You have this exercise, right? So you can just create a function to do this, nat to nat 8. and then write the rest of it. Like, so it will be not, again, ignore this part. This is GitHub Copilot, but yeah, you will have to import some base libraries for that, right? And then complete this. But the point is, you can do it like this, deploy it over here, test in Candid UI, and then move on to the next challenge. Again, stop me anywhere and ask questions if somebody doesn't understand something. Does anyone have any questions?
Yeah, we got one from Wenzel.
Okay. So the link to Candid UI is, again, this goes back to how DFX works. So I mentioned initially that if you see over here is, since I started DFX Start,
You stopped screen share.
is not, oh, my bad. One second.
Is my microphone working?
Yes, sir.
Oh, cool. Real quick question. I missed how you got to the Candid UI. I don't know what that link is.
I'll show you. So if you noticed, initially I just created two files, right? I created the main Motoko and I created the DFX JSON. However, the moment I started my replica with DFX Start, this folder magically appeared, .dfx. So if I expand this, it has something called local. Again, if I expand this, we see that this wallets JSON and canister IDs JSON was created by it. So essentially, these are the files that it automatically creates and maintains the IDs over here. So you can either get it from here. So when I did the DFX deploy the first time, you notice this log message got printed out, where it says the wallet canister ID is this, backend canister ID is this, and UI canister ID is this. The UI meaning the Candid UI. So if you lose this message, like if this gets closed, let's say I close this. So then you can just go to your DFX folder for local, which refers to your local replica. If you click on canister IDs JSON, it says Candid UI locally has this canister ID, and backend locally has this canister ID.
So where do you go to? What's the link to the Candid UI webpage?
Okay. So now everything that gets deployed to a canister is running on this replica. So we see when we started DFX Start, it did some things and ultimately it said that starting server listening on HTTP 127.0.0.1.8,000. So I can either click on this, and 127.0.0.1 is also aliased as localhost. So I can either write like this, or I can say localhost 8,000. They basically refer to the same thing. This is aliased inside your system to point to this IP address. Okay. So if I go over here, it says could not find the canister ID to forward to. So what it is implying is the DFX network, when you just visit its root, it doesn't know what to do with this. It doesn't know what to respond to a browser's GET request. So if you want to specifically get a canister ID, what you need to do is pass it as a argument. So you type question mark canister ID. I is capital, rest is all small. Question mark canister ID equal to, and then you can specify any canister. So in this case, for Candid UI, this is my ID. So I copy this and paste it here. I get this.
Okay.
So even for services deployed to the internet computer also has a Candid UI that you can access to find all the functions that are being exposed by other canister. Let's say discover, you want to find what are the methods exposed by discover. You can actually find discover's backend canister ID and go to the IC's Candid UI and you can see all those values. So if you have browsed around on IC Rocks, you'll find that IC Rocks lists all the methods for like known canisters that you want to browse. essentially it also gets it from this same thing. Under the covers, it is using something called Candy.
Just a quick precision on that. All Motoko canisters, you can find the candid UI automatically. For the Rust canister, it's possible that you cannot find the interface if the developer hasn't provided the interface manually. Otherwise, it will work.
Can you go back to your screen real fast? I wasn't quite there. Right? That's all I need to see. So it's equal. Okay.
So I think you will be able to revisit this after the recording is published. So you can just rewatch this if you missed anything specific. But if anybody else on the attendees list has any question, please ask. So post this, ideally, you should not get stuck with being able to start your replica and deploying your canisters. So at least that part, if you have any questions, please ask. If you've been struggling with using DFX new and the boilerplate that Dfinity gives you, I would suggest follow this flow where you just create two files, a DFX JSON file and your main Motoko file. And then write all your code inside Motoko, inside the main Motoko file. And then follow the workflow that I showed you to deploy and then open Candid UI to test your functions. I don't think anybody else should have any problems with at least being able to write, deploy, and test your code. Like you might need some more time to learn the syntax and the quirks of Motoko, but at least you should be able to run any Motoko code on your local replica at this point.
That's all great info.
I was going to share my screen to share like a challenge 9 and challenge 10, and some people ask more precision on arrays, so I will show that.
Perfect. That's exactly what I was going to ask you to do.
Yeah. All right. So I have everything ready. This is the solution for challenge 9. So challenge 9 was to remove something from an array, specifically the value specified here, the value n. So there are different ways to do it. This is the way I've chose to do it, but this is completely random and this is clearly not the best way to do it. Basically what I do is that I create a new array, then I loop over the specified array here, and if the value is different than n, the value we are trying to remove, then I just add the value, otherwise I don't. So we can try to deploy that and test it.
So I'll just have one more input. Even on the Motoko playground, notice once this gets deployed, they are also basically opening Candid UI on the side.
Yeah, here on the right. Here, Candid UI, you can check. I think you can even click here. Oh no, okay. Yeah, you can, if you want to have the Candid UI in a separate tab, you can do it like that. So remove from array, let's say we have an array of with 3 values. The first one is 2, second one is 4, and 2. And we want to remove the 4. And that's it. It seems to work. We could also have done something like that. So let me just copy and paste everything. There is a method called array.filter. I think I've already shown it earlier yesterday, but basically array.filter will remove all the values that don't follow the predicate. So the predicate is a function that takes something inside the array and returns true or false. So we can actually create our predicates. Let's f is a func that will take n of nat and just return a bool. And so this function will return if n. All right, wait. No, not n, because I've already have n here. So let's call this one m. Yeah, wait. I think I need two. I think I need two values. Let me just. Oh no, it's okay. It's okay. So yeah, what I want to do is, if m is equal to n, then I will just return. I will return false, and else I will return true. I could also just not have the if else, but it's more clear like that. All right, so what is happening right now? Expression type not too good, cannot produce expected type. Yeah, that's normal. So, so f is here, and then I will just return array.filter. So my array and f. I think it should work. So let's try to deploy that. So yeah, this is like a more advanced, I don't know, maybe a bit more advanced way of doing it, because here I create this function and then I put this function inside as a parameter of another function. So let's try it. Let's say we want to remove all the 4. So here it's the value. It's not very clear, sorry, but here it's the value in the array. So this is the first, the second, the third, and here it's the n here that I'm trying to remove. All right, so that seems to work. Yeah, so again, try to understand like this predicate thing. It's just a function that takes whatever is inside the array. So in our case, a natural number, and return true or false. If it returns false, we don't keep it in the array. If it's returned true, we keep it in the array. That's as simple as that. All right. Challenge 10 was, so challenge 10, there was like literally, I think 20 ways to do it. That's the way I've chose to do it. I needed to, so yeah, basically I needed to create a private function, swap. So this is the public function swap, but I don't really use it. Can remove that. Yeah, this is exactly the same. So what I've done here is I've created a function that takes an array and 2 values, and I want to switch the 2 values. So I want, for example, I want the value, let's say E is 1 and G is 3. I want the value at the index 1 to be switched with the value at index 3. The problem is that array by default are immutable, so you cannot do that. Like you cannot just reassign values inside the array. So I've done something which is array.to, which converts basically the array to a mutable version of this array. You can find the function here. It's this one. Yeah, it's here. So transform an immutable array into a mutable array. And you also have the other way around, which is freeze. Transform a mutable array into immutable array. So what I've done is that I've switched the immutable array to a mutable one. Then I store the value inside like a temporary variable. Then I put G inside the value E, inside the index E, and I do the other way around for G. And then I just reconvert the array to a mutable one. And yeah, basically after that, the rest is just like the implementation of the selection sort. So the selection sort is basically you loop through the array and you find the minimum and you put the minimum at the beginning, and then you go again and you loop again. You find the new minimum, you put it at the beginning. And if you do that for all the values in the array, you will get a sorted array. yeah, I don't want to explain too much the section sort because I've linked the video explaining it. And yeah, that's not like something really Motoko related or whatever. It's just something you will find in all programming language. Yeah, that's it. Do we have any question? So I can maybe show the full code for some people if they want to. I don't know, take a screenshot or whatever. Let me try something. I don't know. Maybe it's to zoom out. Can you guys see it?
Yeah, literally, I just wanted to ask for you to show all the code so I could get a screenshot. So I've got 9. I'm just grabbing 9.
Oh yeah, okay. Just one thing that I probably should have talked about is this part, iter.range. I've seen someone asking a question about like, how do we do a for loop in Motoko? You know, for E. For those of you who are already familiar with other languages, you know, you have the for E, E before 10, E++, things like that. In Motoko, you need to use iter.range. So iter.range is an iterator. Iterator, yes. So basically, an iterator is something that you can call with the next function. So for the beginners, don't worry. Like this is a bit more advanced. I will explain that in a daily guide. But basically, you use that to iterate through whatever you want, an array, a loop, everything. So you can create an iterator with iter.range, and you specify the first value and the last value. So for example, iter.range between 1 and 3, you can call iter.next 3 times. So first one, it will be 1, then it will be 2, and then it will be 3, and then it will be null. And you can basically use the syntax, this one, for G in iter.range. Maybe this one is easier to grasp. For E in iter.range 0 to size -1. Yeah, this is the for loop syntax for a basic for loop. Yeah, so everything is explained here, iter.range. And what is nice is that you can iterate through many things. Like you can also iterate through, for example, you can iterate through, wait. Yeah, no, forget about what I've just said. You can iterate through an array using .vols. You can iterate through other data structures as well, using maybe keys, entries. For example, so this is for advanced developer. I will talk about HashMap later today. But for those of you who already know what HashMap is, you can iterate through the values like that with .keys, .vals, .entries, and basically you return the iter. All right. Yeah, we can move to the questions.
Well, actually, we're at the hour mark right here. If anybody has one short question for what was just shown, raise your hand, but otherwise we should go ahead and wrap up this mentorship session. All right, I don't see any hands raised. Well, hey, everyone, thank you so much for taking the time for joining. A lot of useful information here. And we have in just a bit a lecture coming up from Seb. That's going to be really, really, really important for your core projects. All right, Abraham, I see you raised your hand. Yeah, I'll give you permission to talk.
Okay, thank you so much. That's really been a journey. I'm actually having issue with one of the functions here on how to use it. Like this function max, I don't know how to, I'm trying to figure out a way to, it's actually part of the challenges, but the implementation, like I said earlier, I'm coming from the JavaScript aspect. So I'm just trying to put my heads on some certain things, but when I'm trying to do what I do in the JavaScript stuff, it doesn't give me what I want. So I don't know if there's something I'm actually doing wrong in order to pass the parameter argument to give me what I really want. So I don't know if there's any way help can be given so that we can actually know how to do that, so that we can manipulate our ways through it. That's just my question.
You want the maximum value in an array? That's right?
Yeah, not really. This is not really array. This is a natural number. This one is not array. Like in the challenges there, that's number one. So I happen to come across the function that we do that, but I'm trying to wrap my head around it, how to work around stuff, because already I have a function and the max option is like a function or a method in the Motoko stuff, then embedding it inside the already function, the public function that we have, that we're supposed to create, and then try to pass the parameter or the argument from the natural number from inside the main function that we actually work with. So I'm having issues with that. So
okay, I think I understand. You're trying to use the max function in the NAT library.
Yes.
I don't know if it's for the challenge number, if it's for a challenge, but basically I remember there was like the challenge, let me, for day one, there was the challenge to get the maximum value in an array.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
you don't need to use the max function. Basically, the idea was to use a loop. The idea was to initialize the maximum to the first value in the array, and then loop through all the values in the array. And if the value you see is higher than the current value of the maximum, then you assign this value to the maximum. And if you think about it, if you loop through the array and every time you see a value that is higher than what you've seen before and you assign that as your current maximum, then if you look through all the values, it means you will find the maximum necessarily. That was the idea. You don't need to use the max function.
Okay. I was actually wondering that what we're expected here to do is to get the maximum range of number that a particular like a NAT can accept, a NAT 8 can accept, or NAT 32 can accept. That was what I was just wondering. Okay, maybe I'm wrong. I don't know if you get the point.
No. The question for that problem was just to find the maximum value of a given array.
Okay.
Not to find the maximum possible value of a NAT.
Wait, are you talking about the challenge of day 2?
Yeah, this is challenge of day 2. There is nothing like.
Okay, I think okay. So you're talking about the function max number with n bytes.
Yes, sir.
Okay, this one is not. You don't need to use the max. It's not like you don't need to use any library. It's just like some tricky calcul that you need to do. Like
Okay, like I want to know like let's say an integer, there is a specific range of amount of number that integer can hold. So are we really expected to give that number, or just any number that the user put, the maximum number out of that is what you're supposed to give out? So that's my concern.
You're supposed to get the maximum number that you can get with n bytes. So if you use like, let's say 2 bytes, the maximum number will be 1. So it's 2 power of 1 plus 2 power 0. So it's 2 plus 1, it's 3. So that's the maximum number you can represent with 2 bits. And the goal is to get the maximum number you can represent with basically n bits. Yeah, that's the goal of this function. There is nothing like, you don't need to use like any library to do that. Yeah, you just need like to basically try to calculate that. I think you can try this function just like with on paper. I mean, it's more like a algorithm challenge than a Motoko challenge. But you need to, but I think I think you already got it, but you need to read like the decimal binary thing, everything I've explained in the guide.
Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you.
All right, sounds good. Well, hey, that's our time for today. We have another mentorship session later today, but in about an hour or two. We pretty much the next lecture coming up is going to be with Seb. It's going to be how to make an NFT mentor, which is basically your core project. So it's a really important one. Try to make it if you can. You all have a good rest of your day. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone.